I want to start this off by saying that my dad was not an irresponsible father. I feel the need to say that because the story I'm going to tell you doesn't make him sound great.
Glenn's great. Glenn is a great person.
Yeah.
He's a lot of fun.
So, here's the story of the Klingon Babysitter. 1,000 years ago, Vegas still had the Star Trek experience. Actually, it was Star Trek The Experience. And it was the greatest thing of all time. And
I never got to go.
yeah.
I'm a huge Star Trek nerd.
Yeah.
So I missed that I missed it.
Because I did eventually drag you to Vegas.
Yeah, but it was years after it closed
Yeah,
down.
that was already gone.
Yeah.
And my dad has a little story about how you managed to get in for a peek before it opened by basically begging and treating it like a religious experience. Like, the people guarding it didn't have a choice and he just zoomed in. So this is like a family trait. And I'm a sucker for immersive things. Like, between an action figure or a replica prop, I'll take the prop. You know, rides like Haunted Mansion have a huge place in my heart for that same reason. I like pretending that I'm there in the thing.
Well, that's the experience in Star Trek experience. It's
Right.
like you're experiencing Star Trek.
Exactly. You're not just watching, you are experiencing. And so the Star Trek experience did do that same thing. When not even on the ride itself, there was a museum to walk through. And this I think you would have thought was really cool. Because there were props and costumes. They were all treated as like true artifacts. As though the shows were like historic documents from the future.
A reverse museum.
Yeah. Well,
anti-colonialism.
It was a little Galaxy Quest. I don't even know what year that came out. But it was that logic. It was like, oh, the character's going, no, but this is a real thing that absolutely happened.
What?
And remember, this was in Vegas. Considering how few things Vegas has to offer a small child, I was still wandering around the casinos frequently enough.
When we went, it was good. They seemed to be trying to merge like a family-friendly with kid-friendly. Like, there were lots of children when we went, but there was also a lot of street day drinking.
Yeah. Well, like, we did all of Vegas without gambling.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that was a possibility when I was... Maybe it was, and my parents were just not great at it, but...
Well, the whole thing's just to draw you to the casinos. So.
Right. Right.
We just did everything but the casinos.
So, my father's family lived in Nevada, and that's why I was there more often than probably an average New York child, and eventually got pretty good at entertaining myself. But Star Trek The Experience went on for 10 years, so it was absolutely over by the time we were there, because it was from 1998 to 2008, and we were there as soon as possible. So for context, I was 12 in early 1998.
So not a baby.
Not a baby.
But child.
But it's still not as bad as I thought it was. Because, like, I think about the story and I think I'm, like, 8 or 9. And I wasn't 8 or 9. I was 12. Which means my dad was not irresponsible. He wasn't that bad.
It mitigates a little bit.
Yeah. Because 12 is, like, preteen. That's, like, almost teen.
Yeah.
So...
You could walk home from the bus stop alone.
Right. No, totally. And it's possible that I was having trouble communicating at that age. And being so small probably meant that strangers treated me like I was about 9 and I just didn't argue. And that might be why I remember being younger.
You always were very small.
Yeah.
You're still small.
Yeah. So either way, I was still pretty young, and I was small, and therefore not allowed to be on the actual gambling floor. Like, anywhere that the red carpet was laid, I was not to step. And this presented a conflict because my father wanted to play games since we were in Vegas. And I have no idea where the rest of my family was hiding, by the way. I did not go there alone with my dad. Like, I'm 80% certain that my mom and sister were somewhere.
Well, they went off to do something, and your dad was told to take care of Rowyn, and he immediately did this.
Yeah. No, at 100%. Absolutely 100%. But, luckily, my dad is a problem solver. So he called a man dressed as a Klingon over to watch me for, quote, a minute. Total stranger, dressed as a Klingon, hopefully worked there. What if he didn't? Would we have known? A+ parenting, Dad.
Did the guy think that he just had to go to the bathroom or something, and then got really confused 8 minutes later?
Probably. I mean, if it's like for a game of poker, how long is that gonna be? Like,
depends how good you are at poker.
You know? So, thing is, I had a very active imagination, and I liked it when I felt like other people were playing in that headspace with me. You know, like I said before, I like being immersed. So, Honestly, this may have well been an actual Klingon standing before me as far as I was concerned. And I'll give him points too. The guy managed to keep me entertained, stay in character, and not scare the piss out of me.
Kapla.
Right. And I remember a very vivid scene wandering down the hallway as he explained some of the displays, because it was like everybody was in big tanks, almost. And he stopped at one of them, a display of his people that he found upsetting, due to the tribble present by the ancestors' feet, just sort of on the ground. And he said, "We do not like tribbles, and tribbles hate us in return." Now, considering that I didn't speak much to adults, even as a preteen, it's pretty neat that I looked at this mountain of a man and said, "I like you, but I have a tribble at home. We keep her in a cage, though, so she won't get out." After processing that this wasn't like a child game and that I was dead serious, he continued the conversation very carefully, trying to figure out what the fuck I actually had in a cage at home. Guinea pig. It was a guinea pig.
It's a tribble.
It was a tribble! And this guy, he was right on top of that. "Ah, yes, you hold captive the ancestor of the tribble. The ancient guinea pig is not quite as bad, but close." I remember nodding with a stern gaze, as though to say, "Yes, my brother, I understand." We wandered pretty far. I assume he must have just taken me back the way we came, because we didn't go on the ride together. I don't know what my dad would have done if if I'd come out of the ride itself with the Klingon man. I don't know. But we didn't go on the ride. I've been on the ride. I want to make that very clear. I've been on that ride. But not with that man. And when we did get back, Dad seemed pleased that I was fine. I'd like to think that he tipped the Klingon. I also hope that guy got a raise or an acting gig or at least a good laugh. Like, I hope he tells this story.
He comments in the thing and he has an IMDb and he got on Star Trek later on.
That would be lovely.
Because every actor does Star Trek.
I hope he at least told somebody about this tiny child that was hoisted upon him. Like that was at all his job. And
I'm not supposed to say no to people, but then I got roped into babysitting.
I couldn't even tell how old this kid was. Yeah, no, I hope that's the case. So, that's the time I had a Klingon babysitter. I ever tell you about the Topless show I was too young to get into, but saw anyway?
Well, that'll be in the next video, I guess.
What happens in Vegas winds up on the internet in a video. Rock on.